Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, Infiltration and Extraction, those are the two episode titles, episodes 6 and 7 of Season 3 of The Bad Batch, and yeah, I guess it's sort of our mid-season finale, and it ends up leaving our heroes in a darker place than when we found them at the start of this. Rex's base is destroyed, many of his brothers were killed in the attack by the Recovery Strike Team from the Empire, but maybe, just maybe, one good thing is going to come out of this with the arrival of Wolf, which was, of course, very exciting. Wolf is one of the 3 clones that we meet in the first season of Rebels. I think it's the first season of Rebels, who we find out along with Rex and Gregor have survived the events of the Clone Wars and a good chunk of the Dark Times. But so far in the Bad Batch, we've only seen Rex and Gregor. This was our first viewing of Wolf after the fall of the Republic. And we get to see the first crack in the good soldiers follow orders mindset with Wolf. So yeah, at least that seed has been planted. So, you know, and it's not all bad after these 2 episodes. And for that matter, it could have been worse. So, I mean, these episodes actually kind of defied expectations in a way. With names like Infiltration and Extraction, you hear about them and you think, okay, the Bad Batch is going on a mission where they have to get in somewhere and then they have to get themselves out. And that was only half right, the extraction part, and in all honesty, I actually don't know what the infiltration was. I mean, it was certainly a passive one if you consider it to be the one clone operative that Rex and his men took prisoner and brought to the base on Teth. I mean, that's sort of a, you know, an unintended infiltration, I guess, because the Empire was able to find them as a result. But anyway, slice it, definitely not the kind of infiltration that we might have expected. And for that matter, there were also situations where we could easily have witnessed the death of another Bad Batch character, particularly Crosshair, in the moments when he was drawing that clone operative away from the rest of the batch and Rex's people. Or it could have been another situation where Omega or someone else gets captured and we're back to square one and everybody has to find out where Tantus is to effect a rescue. But none of that, in fact, happened, and Wolf actually let everybody fly away. So definitely a surprising set of circumstances all the way through the pair of episodes. Speaking of surprising circumstances also, good grief, clone operatives are like the Terminator 2s of the Star Wars franchise. It is ridiculous what that clone operative survived over the course of the 2 episodes. And I'm saying clone operative, that's how they're described in the audio narration, but in the end credits, they're referred to as clone X troopers. So, you know, whichever one you like. He had monastery walls dropped on him. He had an explosive charge go off nearby him. He was falling down that giant pit and somehow managed to stay close enough to a wall where he was able to grab on and stop his fall and climb in, and then went down that giant, ridiculous waterfall and still managed to drag himself out of that. So yeah, these clone X troopers are just wacky. But overall, across these 2 episodes, I think one of the most important things is that we are seeing multiple situations of people starting to consider organizing against the Empire, and not in a simple, polite protesting kind of fashion, like actually having planets and systems rise up against the Empire. And we're seeing just how hard it is to get a movement like that started. If there was any group of folks who would be able to successfully get things started, you would think that Rex and his clones would have a great shot at it, considering their experience with what was the Republic, which is now the Empire, that would give them a tactical advantage. And that the fight now is going to be a lot easier, comparatively speaking, than it would be 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. But with these 2 episodes, we see just how dangerous and difficult it's going to be to get that fire lit. So that's what I've got for you in thinking about these 2 episodes from orbit, as it were. And so over the next few days, we'll talk about the episodes individually. We'll do our 7 takeaway breakdowns and our deep dive episodes. But for now, that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. If you enjoy the show, and you've heard me say this before, if you haven't done any of these 3 particular things to help more people find this daily dose of Star Wars joy for themselves, I hope today's maybe the day that you'll do it. It's the simple leaving a rating or review on your app of choice. You know that one. It's the subscribe and like and join and follow buttons on your app of choice, whichever one you want to hit. That helps too. And then it's also just telling other folks you know about this podcast that it's here for them anytime they want to have a daily dose of Star Wars joy in their lives. And if you want to help the creation and production of this podcast, you could do that too. You can do that right over at patreon.com/SW7X7. The 7s are both numbers, SW7X7 at patreon.com. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.